everyone, Madilynn Dale here, the chapter goddess. I am a mom, author, blogger, freelancer, podcaster, producer, and overall creative. With this show, I really want to focus on creatives and bring their authentic self to life. How are they motivated to pursue their passions? What have been the struggles along the way? Does self-care play an important role in who they are today and how they connect with the creative flow? Bringing one's authentic self to the forefront is important in this world that we live in currently. Sharing your self-care, your tips, and how you stay on track for things without losing it completely is also important. Self-care is not talked about enough, and authenticity and self-care are what I like to highlight with my creatives, as well as getting to know them. So get ready for a fun and entertaining show. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get ready to meet this episode's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's live episode. I know I've kind of been a little bit absent in my group and stuff this week, but a lot's been going on. Transitioning to summer and just picking up a couple new things in life have kept me extremely busy. But I am excited to bring this guest to you guys today. As you saw on this image, she's got a beautiful book for you guys to check out. It's her debut novel, and I'm excited to hear more about it. And later on today, maybe possibly tomorrow, I'll have another look at her and some fun questions posted on my blog, which can be found on my website here, thechaptergoddess.com. But without further ado, let me bring her in. Hey,
Hello,
Klaudia.
hello.
So
Hello,
go
Maddie.
ahead and tell our viewers a little bit about you and who you are and some of the books you've written, or the book you've written, sorry.
Sure, yes. Hello, hi everyone. I'm Klaudia Sonas, and like Maddie mentioned already, I have just published my debut book, which is the first book of the Sednaam trilogy, and it's called Sednaam, the Heart of the Earth. I'm currently connecting from Zurich, Switzerland, where I've been residing for the last 15 years. And I come originally from Poland.
Yes. So my first question for you is, where did the inspiration for this story come from?
So the inspiration, the ideas have been brewing for years and years, actually. So as a young kid, I was surrounded by the books, and every time there was an occasion to receive a gift, it was always a book. Like my parents knew me really well,
Yes.
and I read all sorts of stuff, but mostly fantasy. And I started writing my own stories, just writing in my notebook, passing them to the kids at school. Once one read it, they were passing it on. It landed by the teacher, and teachers kind of encouraged me to continue writing. And I've been trying to do so just for myself over the years. But then, surprise, surprise, I decided to pursue designer career, and kind of the writing became a hobby that I didn't have really time for. And then pandemic hit, and suddenly I was working from home, and I had much more free time. And this idea kept lingering in my mind, like, you wanted to write, you have this thing in your head, just bring it to the paper and see what happens. And that's kind of how it finally happened. It was really a dream come true.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Now let's talk more about some of the characters. I know the main characters are Jack and Lilia. Is that how you say her
That's
name?
correct. Lilia, yes.
So tell me more about them.
So Lilia and Jack are the protagonists of Sednaam. More of the book is written from Lilia's point of view, but there are some scenes when I really wanted to bring Jack and show this teenage boy kind of a world where nothing makes sense and he doesn't feel like he fits in because of his family situation. And they ended up in an adventure together with Lilia. So I wanted to bring his point of view as well. So Lilia is kind of the main protagonist. She comes from Poland. I really wanted to bring my home country into the book.
Yeah.
She lives at the Willow Avenue, which is actually a name of the street I grew up on. It's something that was always the idea to bring this beautiful setting I was lucky enough to grow up with meadows, forests, kids playing together. So I really wanted to give a little bit of that flair into the book. And Lilia is 13 years old, and she has her own, of course, her own world, her own problems that are at that age so big,
Mhm.
that she has to find a way kind of to deal with
Oh.
it. She's very artsy as well. She loves books. And I kind of wanted to bring those kind of opposite characters of Jack and Lilia together into one adventure and really see where it will take them.
Ooh, I like that. And I like that you put yourself in a lot of her character. Um, how do these two siblings stumble on this fantasy world that they find themselves in?
Mhm. So they're actually not siblings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They are neighbors.
Oh.
And if you read the first pages, you already know that Leah has kind of crush on Jack because
Oh.
to be like the cool, distant outsider boy, and it's kind of very interesting to her in a way. And she's also very empathetic, so she kind of feels like he's been left out at school, being half English, half Polish. So just arrived as a teenage boy to live with his mother, and she feels very very apathetic towards him, but there's also something that really attracts her to the boy next door. So they ended up in this underground world, really when I don't want to put any spoilers in
Yeah.
here, obviously. So they kind of find themselves in a situation, in a setting where Jack feels like he needs to rescue Lilia, but at the end things happen, unexpected things happen, and they land in a magical world they never knew existed, and they never thought that could happen. So
Yeah.
that's where the story starts rolling, and they really get into situations that are at the same time magical but also terrifying,
Hmm.
and they get to know the Sednaam world as well.
Ooh. So how did these two originally meet and become friends? I'm curious about like a little bit of their backstory now.
Mhm. So, because of the family situation, Jack moves next door with
Mhm.
his mother.
Ooh.
And they don't really have the exact contact from the beginning on. So like I said, he's an outsider. They go to the same school, so he's 2 years older than Lilia, so they're still at the same school. Because of Polish system, they're still in the kind of same location, same building.
Mhm.
And there is this thing that attracts Lilia to him, like I mentioned, and she sees him at school. And there were moments where they actually did meet at the corridor. There was this kind of meet cute that they had. But Lilia became very like, teenage girl,
Yes.
terrified and really shy. And that's when he was really kind to her. And they had those little situations where she helped him, or he kind of helped her not to be as shy. And those little things were intertwining in the beginning of the story. But when they landed in Sednaam, it's not like they were really tied together, they were best friends, or they were
Mhm.
really kind of already interacting every single day. But
Yeah.
there were those scenes where they started coming towards each other. But really, in Sednaam, through all the things that were happening, especially towards the end, where they were the ones having to rescue the heart of the earth, that's when this relationship really came together. And as a relationship, I don't mean boyfriend girlfriend, I mean really relationship as two protagonists.
Ooh. So they kind of come together, like get closer as they go through this crazy thing.
Yes.
Ooh. What is some, or what are some of the inspirations behind the world building you have in the story?
So Sednaam is everything I always wanted in a magical world. I thought like if I'm going to write a book, it will have everything that I love. So when I was 18, I left Poland and I moved to Ireland. And I knew nothing about Ireland apart from they speak English, it's a country next to United Kingdom, and I just moved there on a whim. I just was always very adventurous when it came to things like this. And I started getting to know Ireland. And Ireland is so green and beautiful, and the landscapes are so mystical, and the history, and the Druids, and the whole history around that. I started getting to know it more, the fairies, all the legends, the folklore, and
Yeah.
it started really growing on me. And I felt like Ireland has always a special place in my heart, and I felt I want this setting to be somehow put in the book. And of
Ooh.
course, to it come the magical runes, how they used to write, and the gemstones and the herbalism and all the magic potions and fauna and flora. So I really wanted to bring all this together to be there.
Oh, it sounds so amazing. I can just imagine, especially like looking at the covers, which I'm going to show you guys watching that again. Like I just, with the way you got the covers and everything, this is a beautiful world. I can just imagine getting lost in. So, oh man. And I see you've got a little short story for one of the characters as well. I'm going to pull that up again for, you mentioned one of the characters in the book. Let's kind of briefly touch about that short story.
Mhm. Sure. So, part of Sednaam is a mystical forest where all the mystical creatures live, and there are all sorts of creatures that you can imagine. And there is, of course, the kind of bright side of the forest, but there is this darker side of the forest where the creatures that are not exactly evil but are not having any good powers, that's where they live and that's their refuge. And I kind of thought of maybe it's not enough in first book of Sednam that I talked about it, and I felt like there is this short story brewing in me, and I feel like I need to speak for this one character that appeared in Sednam in the first book, The Heart of the Earth. And I would like to show his backstory and tell his backstory, how he came to be. And on the cover, you see that scary tree.
Mhm.
This is the bore of it.
Yeah.
And the short story talks about how he became this really scary tree. And
Ooh.
the story behind it is surprising because actually he was not like this since the beginning on. He
Yeah.
was actually a human before, and
Ooh.
I wanted to talk how this came to be a bit more empathetic towards him as well, because in the Sednam book, he does not play a very good role, but like everything in life, it's not just black and white. You're not just bad or good. It's like it's really a gray zone kind of, and that's how we came to be.
Ooh. That is fascinating. I like that you've given more backstory to that story and some of the stuff in it. When you originally sat down to write this out, it was during the pandemic, right?
Yes.
Did you do an outline or just kind of let yourself go and just see where it went?
It was a bit of mix of both. At
Mhm.
first, I was just terrified because I haven't written for many, many years.
Yeah.
Apart from, school papers that you just had to write, you have deadline, you just have to write that. And it was very scary. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I probably should watch some videos or read some books on how to write a book. So I tried to do a little bit of that, but I'm not a very patient person when it comes to it. So I just thought, okay, I think I have a vague idea. Let me just start. And I had this idea how I would like the plot to evolve, and
Mhm.
I had an idea on the main characters, but everything else was just coming to me every day until I had a rough plot outline. And then I thought I need to stop planning and I just need to start writing and see where it takes me. And I was really happy I did it like this because I didn't plan every single detail. And I
Mhm.
remember sometimes just laying at night, not being able to sleep after writing one or two chapters, and the ideas that were coming to me. It was crazy. I would
Yeah.
never be able to write it on exactly the day, if I would decide to continue, the plot would take me somewhere else. But I had this time, I thought about it, and the dots were connecting, and I was like, oh my God, did I just come up with that? It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's always fun to see where the creativity kind of like takes you. Once you
right.
it starts, it doesn't stop and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like slow down so I can like try to write this out." It just oh. Did you find yourself like fighting with the idea a little bit just to make it like wait as you got stuff down?
How do you mean wait?
Like like telling the idea like, "Hold on, I can't get you down as fast." Like, did you
Oh,
find
right.
that happen a lot?
Yeah, so if I, like I said, I was laying in bed at night and it was like, am I getting up now, writing this down? Am I trusting myself I would remember it till the morning? And most of the time, I just decided, okay, I will know in the morning, I'll write it down. And sometimes it happened that more things even came up in the morning, because you dream, because you relax, those things just come together. So it was like this sometimes, but sometimes I found myself sitting on the train and the idea came and I was like, okay, now I have the chance. I'm writing this down because too many things are going on. I might forget this one. So yeah,
Yeah.
it really
Ooh.
depends. Yes.
Did you have any situations where you felt like you were stuck or like you couldn't move forward?
Yes.
How
Yes.
did you work through that?
It was hard. So unfortunately, if I got myself into a situation like this, often it often made me stop writing for a period of time. So I read somewhere really great advice. Not sure exactly who that was, but they said if you write something and you know exactly what to write next, that's when you should stop. Because it's so much easier to go back to writing when you know exactly what's happening next, and then you can just continue the story. But it's very difficult to stop because you're stuck and then go back to it because this feeling's like, I don't know, whatever I'll write next, it's not going to be good enough. So it definitely happened to me, and it definitely caused me to stop writing for like a week or two. And I felt bad about this because I wanted some kind of deadline also for my editor, who was going to take over. So it was really a battle. And this is what I'm trying not to do this time because I'm writing the second part and I'm really trying to tell to myself, giving myself a pep talk, no, it's okay. You can do it and it will happen.
Yes, I like that. Something I like to ask all the creatives I bring on the show is what do you do for self care to help keep that creativity flowing?
Mhm. So for me, I lead very busy life because I also work full time as a designer. So it's a lot going on all the time, and I feel like this work life balance is really important.
Mhm.
And I feel like if you're too stressed and not feeling well, this is what kills creativity. Basically, this is like you just don't have strength anymore to think of something creative. So for me, what I really found really useful for me is as soon as I wake up, I take like 10 minutes to meditate. And I really like aromatherapy, so it really helps, like to start the day with a great smell, essential oils, good mood, and clear my head a little bit. And I do a little bit of yoga as well in the morning, not long, just to kind of bring you into this active day. And I found this really calms me down. I'm not as stressed because there is a workload waiting for me, and I need to find time writing as well. So this is something that definitely helped. And something that always helped me to put the ideas kind of in order and put my head in order is swimming laps, actually, because
Ooh.
swimming laps is kind of boring,
Yeah.
because you just do the same thing back and forth. But I've noticed after a few laps, my mind just calms down because everything's coming out. You have nothing else just to think basically while your body's moving. And that's actually where one of like great ideas are coming for me, at least personally. So that does help the mind and the body at the same time.
Yes, that is great. And I like the swimming thing because it just lets your mind kind of go into a stasis for a minute.
Hmm.
That helps so much for creativity. And I love that because there's so many different ways people can reach that and just turn things off for a minute and just sit. So,
Right.
ooh,
Definitely.
I love it. Um, with this being your first, and you've got the short story, what does the future look like for you? Do you have more planned or some more ideas swimming around in your head?
Yes, definitely. So I can't complain on lack of ideas. I only can complain on time to actually being
Mhm.
able to write everything down. But I'm pretty sure many of us have exactly the same problem. So for me, the future, I'm working towards becoming a full-time author. I know the way is long and the journey will be probably hard to get there, but I really see myself and I try to manifest myself in that situation. So, obviously, the only thing to do in order to become a full time author is keep writing. So, you cannot just write one book and decide somehow everything happens for you and you can
Yeah.
just quit the job and become a full-time author and I mean it would be amazing, it would be great,
Yes,
but
it would. Yeah.
obviously
Getting
obviously
getting to that dream is hard. I am right there with you. It is very, very hard because a lot of people don't realize how much money actually goes into making a book
Absolutely.
amazing and the final product. So it's a lot. What has been one of the biggest lessons you've learned since you started this journey?
So one of the lessons that I know I'm still learning, but it's very important is not to doubt yourself because this happens, I think this happens to anyone in creative journey that on a creative journey you just doubt yourself. It can be an artist and can be an author, writer, journalist, whoever who wants to go towards this artistic dream. And I feel like doubting myself, it's just me myself standing in my own way basically, because when you ask friends, family, and everyone around, they're like, "Oh my God, you wrote the book. This is amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I feel like I'm not there yet. I feel like I still need to do more." So definitely, I'm trying to be better at that, not to doubt myself, because at the end of the day, I did write a book and it's out there, and the dream came true.
Yes.
Um, but that's definitely a lesson. A lesson is also not to underestimate how much work goes into publishing book as an indie author. That was mind blowing to me,
Oh, yeah.
So I thought writing the book and finishing writing my book, I was like, I'm almost there. Like it's finally done. And I didn't realize that there is this huge mountain of tasks standing in front of me after I finished writing. So this is crazy. We're just one man show at the end of the day,
Hmm.
and it's a really crazy amount of work. So I'm definitely better with planning and my timelines now. So this is a really big lesson that I've learned as well.
Yes, and that's great that you bring up the mountain of. It's kind of intimidating,
Mhm.
honestly. Once you get that first book done, you kind of have an idea of what the process is. But every book you publish, you kind of add more task on because you're like, you can't just let it sit. You've got to market that book too and
Exactly.
the new stuff, and it's just like, oh, it's a lot.
Definitely.
What has
Definitely.
been your favorite part about this journey? Do you have something that stands out, or maybe just a period of time where you're like, this is what I'm doing?
Mhm. So for me was the beginning, the whole planning, the deciding on the characters, deciding on the names, where they come from. I felt like I can just choose anything because I'm the creator of this world, and that was like it was an amazing feeling, and how they interact together, who they are, and the whole world building. Like I said, I brought everything that I loved. So every time I was writing the scene of kind of showing to the reader how the world looks like, what things they do down there in Sednaam, they were really my favorite parts. Just the showing to the reader, like this is part of the world that lived inside of me, and I can show it to you now and share this with you.
Ooh, I love it. Ooh, man. So, with your books that you've got percolating in your brain, do you think any of them will be featured in this world again?
Definitely. So Sednaam is a trilogy, and I've thought about it from the beginning on like this. So there are many subplots happening, and every book will have kind of main plot, but when you look at all three of them, there will be plot above it. Of course, fighting the enemy, making sure that Sednaam is safe, and there will be big things happening that are already mentioned in every single book. So I always saw it as trilogy, and I would find it a pity not to write more about Sednaam, because there are so many things that are not explored yet, that are not talked about yet. All the lessons that Lilia and Jack take when they get down to Sednaam. There is the whole school where they learn things they never thought existed, but it's just a small chunk of the whole world. And the book too actually opens door to the kind of neighbor world that kind of correlates with Sednaam. So I feel like this could be never-ending amount of books, kind of, and stories.
Those are the best book series to get lost in, though, like for real, because you can start one and it just carries you along, and
Yes.
you get to see all of the different characters change over time, their growth, and
Exactly.
it's just so much in those series. Yes. Well, Klaudia, go ahead and tell our listeners and viewers where they can check out this book and grab themselves a copy, and also where they can follow you on socials.
Sure. So I am very active on Instagram. My Instagram account is at Klaudia.Sonas, so very easy. Also on Facebook under the same name. You can even see me on LinkedIn if you're interested. And you can get my books on Amazon at the moment, on all the Amazon online shops. But for more information, where to get them as well, like it could be Barnes & Noble, Walmart, European stores, you can visit www.claudiasonas.com as well.
Sweet. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on the show today. And for those who catch the show later, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. If you're watching now, do that. Check out our books. You can find all of my work. The blog post featuring Klaudia will be up later today on it as well. The chaptergoddess.com will get you links to everything. And just, check out both of our books, all of our books. And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to get future notifications when shows come out. Also, be sure to check out my website. I have a blog featuring this creative with some other fun and interesting questions. You can also subscribe to my newsletter there to stay up to date with all things the Chapter Goddess and Madilynn Dale. Once again, thanks for watching and have a great rest of the day.